deal with airplane peanuts.
The most Norm thing ever to not tell everybody that you were dying of cancer
What
and
a
then just
G.
die.
What a fucking G.
What a G.
God damn.
A total Norm move, too, right?
Yeah, what does
I
he want?
know.
Sympathy from everybody.
And
Fuck off.
He got canceled. He could have put that card on the table. Cancer, motherfucker. And he didn't.
And he didn't even tell his best friends. He said he was going to Canada
No, he
to
didn't
take care
tell
of his
me.
mom.
He didn't tell me either.
He told Adam Egan he's got a big race coming for him.
Didn't tell Adam.
How
Yeah,
dare
didn't tell Adam.
That's
Damn.
the last joke.
What?
He's a genius comic, though.
Genius.
Goddamn. He was so unique
Comics
in his
comic.
the way he expressed himself, how he was really thinking. Like the way he would say something fucked up to you in the green room, he would say the exact same thing on stage. It was just
Really?
like, and he would say he had this way of looking at things that was absolutely unique to him.
Yeah.
You
He
know?
bombed a good bit, too.
He did. He leaned
took
into
chances.
Which
took
must have been
chances.
so fun to watch.
I saw
never
him
got.
bomb.
I never
Some
saw
of
him
the,
bomb.
Caroline's ones, fucking throwing down one. Like, God, it was like he
I
just
saw the
didn't care.
Carolines, too.
Didn't care.
He got heckled. He was drinking a Coca-Cola, and he got heckled, and he was like, I don't want to do this. I'm just going to go back to my act.
Do you know what? I got to tell you this. What this Canadian promoter told me? They go, I forget who it was, but somebody who would, you probably know too, that has worked in comedy all these years. And they go, coming up, when because Norm started in Canada, he's Canadian.
Yeah.
They go, whenever he killed in these early years, working a weekend at Yuck Yucks or something.
Yeah.
When the show was over, he'd just hide, or he'd just go in the green room and sit there. But if he bombed, which Norm is the kind of comic who, like every other show,
Yeah.
because he literally, he just didn't care.
He really
didn't care.
He really didn't care.
People say that, and they're lying.
No, he really genuinely
He
didn't care.
didn't care. I mean, watch his roast, watch his talk show appearances. He doesn't give a fuck. When he bombed, which was like semi-regularly, he would wait in the hallway to shake audience members' hands so that they had to see him again. So they're leaving. He's like, how you doing? Hi.
That is the most gangster move.
Yeah, it totally is. But if he's like, if I kill, I don't want to do that.
But anyway, in the morning, Norm's downstairs. We all have to play in this poker tournament. That's part of the weekend deal, the package. And Norm's like, man, a lot of hot chicks here, huh? And I'm looking around, and it's like nobody's hot in this area, right? There hasn't been anybody hot here. If somebody here were hot, you would know about it immediately. They'd be on a calendar.
They would be on the news.
Yeah, they would be on the news. Yeah.
Dead or alive.
Yeah, they would be on the news, bro. Yeah, if a decent strand of jeans passed through this town, the fucking fire alarms would go off, right? There has not been...
They would be up from the news to a milk carton in like a week.
There has not been a unique strand of GTAC to roll through this area in fucking... Since fucking
So
what?
Norm was definitely on pills if he was like looking around.
Right.
There's some tail here.
Yeah. So I thought he was serious, right? Because I don't really know him. I'm like, yeah, man, there definitely is. And then he goes, fuck no, there isn't. Right? And it just shook me.
That's so him. That's amazing.
He like baited me into believing that he
And then fucking pulled the rug out.
Yeah.
Dude, he was
Fuck no, there isn't.
Really one of the best comedy minds of all time. I remember Colin Quinn told me a story once that, one of my favorite musicians ever, Leonard Cohen, being a Canadian, would go see Norm Macdonald play.
Whoa.
And Norm was like, who's this guy? Who's this old guy? He didn't care that Leonard Cohen was a Norm Macdonald fan.
Wow, unbelievable! Yeah, his gambling stories on Howard Stern are incredible. I read his book. I've seen everything he's done. This is
Dirty Work is a great comedy.
I love Dirty Work. I met him once at the Cellar, and I got a photo with him. And now I'm so glad I did. He did Last Comic Standing. He was the only honest judge. He would tell comics they were hacks. It was awesome.
My story with Norm it doesn't start out great because I did Last Comic Standing in 2000 and whatever. It never aired. And I did my joke and I did well. And it was him. It was Damon Wayans and Roseanne.
Yeah.
And Roseanne liked me. Damon Wayans, he was like, he was just like, yeah. He just like smiled and laughed. I think he said right on. I don't know what he was just like barely there. Like he wasn't, I don't remember anything either way. And then Norm was like, how many years have you been doing comedy? I'm like, 4. He's like, what? It takes 10 years to be a comedian. What are you doing here? I was like, ah. And I remember that was the biggest gut punch I got in stand-up. And I remember being at the Hilton by where they shoot all those shows. By where is that? Universal City?
Yeah.
That area?
Yeah.
I was in the Hilton and I was just like I couldn't even eat. I was like, this is horrible. And I spoke to one of the comics I was staying with at that point, and he was like, last comic standing. He's like, you go in there and they pay legends to tell you not to do what you love, which is kind of what. But I got over it. I kept doing it. And then he became a fan of us later on and a lot of shit we were doing. And he was right. You know, I was a 4-year, 5-year comic then. It's like, you do need more time to mature.
Norm has a joke. He goes, I got a new neighbor. I see the neighbor, and I said, hey, neighbor, what do you do for a living? And the neighbor says, Norm, I'm a professor of logic down at the University of Science. And Norm says, what's that? And he goes, well, Norm, it's hard for me to explain. It's easier to me to just show you what I do. Norm, do you have a doghouse? And Norm goes, I do. And he goes, well, then you must have a dog, logically. And he goes, I do have a dog. And he goes, all right. And if you have a dog, logically, I can assume you must have a child. Do you have a child, Norm? And he goes, I do have a child. He goes, well, if you have a child, logically, I can assume you must be married to a woman. Are you married to a woman, Norm? And he goes, I am. He goes, Norm, then logically, I can assume you're a straight white male. And Norm goes, wow, that's amazing. So the next day, Norm's down at a bus stop having a cigarette, sees another one of his neighbors. The neighbor says, Norm, did you meet the new neighbor? He goes, yeah, I did. He goes, what's he do for a living? He goes, he's a professor of logic down at the University of Science. He goes, what is that? And he goes, well, it's hard for me to explain, but it's much easier for me to show. Guy goes, yeah. And he goes, yeah. And Norm goes, hey, do you have a doghouse? He goes, no. And he goes, well, then you must be a faggot. Why? What? Like
It's a great joke.
It's a great joke. Why aren't we like? We're all funny. Like, why can't we?
Because
just...
that's a problematic word and it's banned. God, he's such a piece of shit. He's such a piece of shit.
You're like, why can't we say it?
No.
I know, but it sure sounds like that.
But dude, as far as like people to go down a rabbit hole, for me, it's him, Norm Macdonald, Ric Flair, Patrice. There's like 3 of them you can just kind of go down, and it's just so different
And great.
and fresh and unique. And I thought there was a lot of similarity in as far as what they did, Patrice and Norm. I thought there was a lot of similarity. It's brutal, dude. That guy was just one of the. He's such a nice guy too. He's such a nice guy, and just I thought just so mentally beyond.
Yeah.
All of us.
It was like he had this rare mix of how the things he said were funny, and then also the way he said it was funny, but also the moments in between when he was saying words he made funny somehow. And it was like the pinnacle of a stand-up comedian. It was like it was the words, the way you say it, and then sometimes you found yourself watching Norm Macdonald laughing at the pauses because of how absurd what he just said was, or you couldn't wait what he was going to say next, or just why did he pause this way now? He just was a true comic, and he was one of those guys that just had to be a comic, you know? And thank God he chose to do stand-up because he was great. I think he was one of the best to ever do it. And, you know, the other day we lost a legend.
You're kidding me.
No. We just found out that Norm Macdonald passed away. Oh my God. I love Norm Macdonald.
He's young. And there it goes.
I don't know what to say.
Me either. That was breaking news, but you'll know now when you listen to this when we recorded it. Oh, I'm just heartbroken.
Jesus.
I love Norm. Norm is from my home country, Canada, and from my home club, Yuck Yucks. And I've worked with him many times. Do you know Norm?
Yeah, we worked together on Last Comic Standing. I took the job because I wanted to work with Norm Macdonald. and we fought every day.
You fought with him?
We not like getting, but we would joke back and forth with each other, and it took a little while for us to gel. You know, that he would say something and I would make fun of it, and he was like, "Why is the host making fun of the judge?" Keenan Ivory Wayans, Roseanne, they were all like, "Why is he being mean to us?" And that was just the way I did things.
Right.
But I was thrilled to be able to work with Norm Macdonald and get to know him a little bit. Huge influence on me of just, if you believe in the joke, the audience doesn't have to necessarily, because you get it. Like his Weekend Update was
amazing,
legendary to me, and just one of the greatest of all time. These don't affect me that often, but this is a tough.
What does it say? I didn't read it. What did he die from? Somebody in the control. What did he pass from?
It was cancer.
Has he been sick?
Cancer?
9 years.
He's had 9 years of cancer?
I had no idea.
I had no idea that he was even sick. And he's a guy that I knew a little bit. I was definitely friendly with him. If we saw each other, we said hello and we shot the shit, but it wasn't like someone that I talked to on the phone or anything. And I was such a huge fan of his, and I would just always end up running into him. And he just always had that smile on his face. Like as you talk to him, he would have that smile. Just a really great, warm guy.
My girlfriend called me crying 2 days ago.
What were you crying
Norm.
about?
Norm.
Oh,
I was
I cried
watching
at Norm.
I was watching. I tossed on his last Letterman.
I cried.
And she was in the other room and just heard me like like doing that. And she came out and I was like, fine.
Yeah.
Fine. Yeah, Norm got me.
That was I cried.
love that guy.
Oh.
He reached out when I was getting canceled a lot.
Really?
Yeah, and he said some really cool things. I'll share them with you after. He's the best. All right.
I reached out I posted about him when he got in trouble.
Yeah.
And he reached out to me and was like, I'll share with you privately.
He loved comedy, and
he was the purest. He was the purest comic,
and he fucking hated this fucking woke shit.
Yeah,
he hated it. So seeing all these people like tweet about him, like, "Oh, I loved Norm" and all this, like, just know he fucking despised what you do. In my opinion.
Yeah, no, and I
think, what do I know?
Can you share some of the stuff
with Norm?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That you have with Norm?
It was just, he reached out. He was a big, when people were going through it, Norm was one of the guys that would always reach out. And that was it. Just reached out. He sent me some cool stuff about like, funny will win.
Yeah.
That was the coolest shit ever.
Yeah.
He was amazing. Like, there's a war right. I don't want to spill the beans on a nice thing, but it was like,
you guys had a private thing.
Yeah, it was cool.
But
and
he was
it ended,
very supportive when you were going
he
through your
spoke
stuff.
like poetically.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
And it ended, one of the messages ended with like, in a war for comedy, I think the ones with jokes will win. I was just like, yo.
Yeah.
That's fire.
Norm Macdonald is king.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he
amazing.
in no way has to do that.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
To reach out, especially at that time, I thought was really cool.
It was 2 years ago. I mean, he had,
Yeah, as he's battling something, no disrespect,
Yes.
way worse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's like, hey, you need help?
I was with Adam Egett most of the time in Austin. The guy, you know Adam?
Yeah. From the store, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So me and Adam went to the Cowboys-Eagles game, and we were hanging out, and the whole time, because he was best friends with Norm.
Yeah.
So he was like going through it, but he went through it the same way as like we just talked like Norm the whole time. Like the whole game, we were like, you must have. Yeah, you got hit pretty hard. You know what's worse than getting hit like that? Blood cancer. It's no good, that blood cancer. It was like that the whole time. It was great. I hope that wasn't sharing too much for Adam.
No.
But it was fun. Norm's the best.
It occurred to me, and I was talking to my buddies on a text chain the other day, a bunch of comics, and I said, this wasn't Norm's time. He didn't want to live in a world of Don Ohlmeyers. Everyone trying to cancel everybody.
Right.
It was interesting that he's gone now.
Did you know he was sick?
I didn't know.
No, me either.
So I think I'm going to get fired because I saw Lorne Michaels' face. He was pissed.
So you sitting there super nervous at this point?
I swear in my life, in my kids' lives, I thought I was going to get fired because I just basically said I don't watch Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
And I never did. And
which is not
a good answer.
It's not the message.
In front of the press.
Yeah.
And I didn't say it in a mean manner, but I could just tell the boss man was like, So I went, oh, Jesus Lord. So now I'm sitting there thinking I'm going to get fired. Swear to God. And I'm just like, oh my God, I didn't even make it to the first episode. They're going to let me go. So this is what's going on in my head. There has to be a video of this press conference in the black market somewhere. I've looked for it, never found it. It's the 1995 press conference. And so they asked Norm, they go, Norm, you, Tim Meadows, David Spade, you've been here. You know the frat house. Everyone knows SNL is a frat house. What kind of practical jokes you got lined up for these new cast members? And I swear to you, I went, I'm not even going to be part of the frat house or the practical jokes. Damn. And Norm goes, first of all, he's annoyed. He goes, practical jokes? Is that what you asked? What kind of practical jokes? Well, first we were thinking about anal rape. You know? Like, hey, yeah, take your pants. We're going to anally rape you. Welcome to Saturday Night Live. I'm going, oh, shit. He's going to get fired, too? Yeah. You can't say anal rape in front of the press? Yeah. He said anal rape.
So suddenly you're like, I'm back in this.
I'm in it.
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm good. And I went up to him after. I went, Nori's like, they don't give it. No one gives a shit, bro. Fuck these guys. Yeah. And I realized he would pitch at the pitch meeting. He just didn't care. He didn't care. And I learned so much from him. Just clearly he saw a lot and he's been there forever. Like he would, I remember he gathered the new cast up. He's like, I swear to God, he goes, hey, don't write me any of your gay sketches.
He had a bit. He always had so many gay jokes, but I never knew him to be gay or anything. But he had a joke. He was on Letterman, and or no, it was Conan, and he was promoting his book, and he goes, yeah, it's not a memoir, but it's just it's a book, and he goes, I don't talk about being a deeply closeted gay man, and Conan goes, what? You're gay? And he goes, what? No, why'd you say that? And he goes, well, you just said. He goes, no, I'm deeply closeted. And he goes, so you're not gay? He's like, no, I'm straight as an arrow. And he goes, and then he goes, and I'm paraphrasing, forgive me, but he goes, deeply closeted means the guy who's gay, but he's so gay he won't admit it. He hides it. And he's like, yeah, no, I'm straight. It was such a fucking good bit. Again, I fucking paraphrased it, but it's on YouTube.
That's funny, man.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah, I watched one of his clips when he was on, I think, The View. Did you see that clip?
No.
When they're trying to get him to, like, he's trying to be very realistic. The show's, like, ultra liberal, and he's just trying to be just a realist, like...
yeah, that's how he was.
Yeah, and they're like, they're like, you'll never be back on this show. They're all joking about it and stuff. And he wouldn't because he wasn't, like, just kind of conforming to whatever, like... I don't know, just some ridiculous story.
Why would they have him on?
Here we go. Let's get a little bit of it.
That the Democrats don't steal the election from the winner, but who knows?
You like George Bush, don't you?
I love George Bush, man. He's a good man, decent, none of this. He's not a liar, a crook, murderer, or anything like that. So it'd be good to get the... See, I think we should get the homicide out of the White House and get like a fresh start, because we don't want any more murderers.
I think we should just go on to the next question.
Who are the murderers?
Yeah.
Oh, Clinton, he murdered a guy.
Yeah, we're not allowed to. You're not allowed to put out no accusations without.
That's a little too far.
That's the way it does work.
Let's just go on to the next question.
Yeah.
This is not my week. What can I tell you?
Oh, it's not mine either, and I'm being very nice, okay? Be a good boy. Now, Norm.
Do you never hear that?
No. Listen,
Norm,
we don't need
I
to
don't
talk
want to get
about
into this, and I don't want to hear it, and this is not the place to make those accusations, and you're supposed to be funny. Let's get on to the next question. So get with it.
There you go.
This is a live show.
Not for nothing, Norm, but you have been properly chastised by Barbara, so I'm not going to ask the next question.
I thought it was a matter of record.
Shut up.
He's just saying.
Okay,
Let me do this, okay?
They don't even want to talk about the fact that maybe the guy murdered somebody.
Yeah.
Let's talk football.
All right, manslaughter.
Let's talk
He's doubling down.
So were you open for him?
No, well, I'm trying to think. I hung out with him a couple times. The Irvine one was the time I got really high with him. Ryan Sickler and I were in the parking lot before.
I'm so jealous.
Oh, and Ryan's always got good weed.
Yeah.
And he had some crazy sticky shit, and he was like, he's like, you want to smoke? I thought Norm was going to be like, I'm about to go on stage, which he was. And he was like, yeah. I was like, you're going to smoke right I was like, you're going to smoke right now? Because that was like so scary to me to get that high before. He packed this bowl. Norm hit it, took a monster hit.
I watched him take a monster hit off of
coughed
Rogan one time.
So hard, tear came down his face. You know, like when you're coughing that hard. And I was like, this is going to be bad. You know? I took a hit because I was watching him. We weren't performing that night. And the show's already started. And I had that, like, you know, that anxiety.
Yeah.
Like of like a 5-year comic, and he's a 30-year guy at the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't you got to get in there? He's like, huh. You know. I'm like, how? Get in there? Like, yeah, it's all I could think about. I was like, you got to get in there, man.
Yeah.
And he smoking, talking, told me. I asked questions. I asked about dirty work, you know, and working. I go that scene with Rickles and Artie, you know. And then I thought I'd tell you this. We walk from the parking lot into, this is the old Irvine Improv.
Yeah.
We walk in the front, and then there's the showroom doors, and then there's the pathway down. Dude, it's like a movie. We walk in the front doors, and then those showroom doors open, and as the showroom doors open, they're like, Norm Macdonald. He's got on this leather blazer on, and he's holding a Coke, twist-off Coke.
Yeah.
And he just walks up there, and you know, place goes, it was packed. And he's like, yeah, you know, some people drink Sprite. It's fucking gross. And he just fucking, it's like talking like that, like just off the top of his head about how gross Sprite is.
God.
And murdering. And then Ryan and I are in the back. We're like, holy shit. And we're like, we're so high. He's got to be so high right now. So high. And he's up there just killing, man.
But what's interesting was at my Comedy Central roast that John Stamos was the roast master, and all of the comedians, and that's where beloved Norm Macdonald did his very memorable non-roasty tribute of doing.
No, he was reading from a joke book.
He said, Saget, I'm going to do jokes from the 40s. And I went, I don't know. I said, say fuck once. I don't want to do that. I don't want to make fun of you. You're my friend. And I went, I had a hard time. I've had a hard time dealing with this one.
I know. And can I just say, not to bring this down, but you know, I was sitting here in the podcast on the day with Jesselnick and when we found out, and it just broke my heart. And I think it was like 2 days later. I don't know if it was Instagram or whatever you did.
That was my
a eulogy.
Yeah.
And it was the most touching, wonderful, emotional, beautiful. I mean, as much as it was beautiful for Norm, it kind of, you're a really good guy and a good friend to have in life, and the fact that you respect. But you
texted me that, and I was crying.
I was crying listening to you.
I was that bad?
No.
It was right as set the stage. It's right as his Netflix show is about to air, and he gets in big trouble because he's on Stern.
No. Hold on. Start it over. He defends Louis first.
Okay, yeah.
Louis and Roseanne. And Louis Roseanne. Then he goes on Stern.
And when he's on Stern, instead of saying like you'd have to be retarded to laugh at this or to think this, he'd be like, you'd have to have Down syndrome. So he keeps saying
he thinks that's better because he thinks Down syndrome is okay to say, but retarded is bad because it's the R word.
Right.
So he's like,
so
he says it a bunch, and they're about to launch the show. So of course, like, you know, everybody involved is like panicking. Like, you need to make it clear you have a new show launching. You got it. So he goes on The View and he's like, yeah. He's like, yeah. He's like, yeah. And he is. I'm not. Like, you can mute this and watch this. He is eating mints, like and popping them in his mouth. as he's talking.
Joe, he's literally
Like,
eating mint.
and shaking. It's
To,
like
fill
shaking
up
them
on.
in his hand. He's like, yeah, I feel real bad about that. And he's like,
Why would I talk about Louis? I've never even had consensual sex with a girl. And they're like, Norm, you've never had consensual sex with a girl? He goes, why would I? And they're like, no, but I think you're misspeaking, Norm.
and then you see, like, you see him, like, you're on daytime. And he's like, yeah, so I feel real bad about that.
Norm makes me laugh hard.
Dude, hold on, I'll tell you a thing about Norm.
Hard.
So he did this thing one time. He gets up to go from one room into another room, right? He stops at the doorway and he's like, what is this? What is like a... What is this? He's like banging on the door, like just the doorway. He's like, well, what is like a portal to like another... What is this? And he's literally asking the people in the room, right? What do you call this thing? It's like a portal to what? How do you just go through? Where am I? And he was just talking about a doorway, but it was so.
He makes anything funny.
Yeah,
I remember it was me, him. He came to. It was, I think he was doing a show with Spade in Irvine, and I went to go watch, and he came we went like by the dumpster afterwards, and it was me, him.
Oh, I know what you're talking about outside. There's that little outside area where you park. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was. There was one other person there. I don't remember who was there. So he said, "Bro, you want to get stoned?" I went, "Nah, man." I stopped. He goes, "What? Jesus Christ! Fucking guy from Half Baked. You can't fucking stop getting high. The fuck you dying about?" He was so angry that I didn't want to get high. He was so pissed.
He was genuinely pissed.
The fuck is that? Who the fucking bro? You fucking high? Jesus Christ! The fuck is what? Are you showing like that? Jesus Christ, bro! What the fuck?
So many people like pretend that they don't give a fuck. You know, both in my business and in other businesses. You got I don't give a fuck. Hey, you know me. I don't give a fuck. You know, those people that advertise them. Like, that guy clearly, in the best way, didn't give a fuck. He really cared about people and stuff, but like he did what he wanted to do. And when he was on SNL, how big a gig that was, because there was so few channels, the internet hadn't blown up yet, and even with basic cable and everything, I mean, it was still, if you were on Saturday Night Live and you were doing Weekend Update, it was one of the most coveted gigs a comedian could have. And no one's walking away from that job. I mean, if some suit at NBC tells you they don't like the jokes you're doing and be funnier, you know, you're shaking in your... I would be. I'd be like, oh, fuck, you know, I'm going to lose this big gig. I don't want to get fired. I don't want to piss these people off or whatever. I guess he was doing all those OJ jokes, and somebody... I forget how the story went. There was somebody there that knew OJ or something and was telling Norm to back off and move on to something else. So what does Norm do? He just doubles down and he just does even more OJ jokes, which is like, you know, the balls that took to do that. And he ended up losing the gig. He got fired. And people loved him and he was fucking hilarious, but he, you know, he didn't back down to the big fucking guy over there, and he ended up losing the gig. So, you know, as luck would have it, I think it was Dirty Work, came out like a year and a half later or so. So he has to promote it, and he's on the press thing. So Lauren has him back and has him host the show. And I remember he went out there, and his opening joke, he just comes out. And he was just like, something like this. Yeah, it's good to be back. You know, I actually got fired from this show about a year and a half ago because they said it wasn't funny. And now here I am. I'm hosting the show. So that means one of two things. Either I got a lot funnier or this show sucks. And then he had that big shit-eating grin on his face and he started laughing. And then he proceeded to do a bunch of OJ jokes.
But he didn't take he took issue with OJ. He didn't take issue with if you tell him not to say something, it's like us.
Right.
You know, it's like I guess he was the purest version of don't say this. and then
And
he
you do
would
it like-
find the most brilliant way to do it. He was a wordsmith also. He loved wordplay, and there was a brilliance to him that was really quite singular.
Norm really was brilliant. I mean, not just his stand-up, but I mean, an edgy, underappreciated Weekend Update anchor.
Oh, the best. Easily the best Weekend guy.
And he followed, I believe he followed Kevin Nealon, who I thought was great as well.
Nealon was great.
Yeah,
They
different
said-
type of anchor.
Yeah, Dennis Miller was always like lauded as the best one, and then I feel like Norm kind of took it over.
Well,
And-
Norm was our guy. It's almost like people were like, I'm a Letterman guy, and then we're like, well, we're Conan guys.
Right.
That's kind of what Norm was.
But he would come in and he would bomb a lot. He would have jokes that the audience would be like, oh, he had this one great joke. He's like, something, women are bad drivers. And they went, oh, and he went, well, I want you to know a woman wrote that joke. And they went, oh, and he went, I'm kidding, we don't hire women. You're like, ah, that's a comic.
We love you, Norm. We love your comedy. He was a good human being. He was somebody that I think we're all going to miss.
100%. I mean, one of the greatest of all time, and
He really
This
is.
only like solidifies his legacy. I think that people
Really?
will.
I thought he
go
was
back
really treated unfairly at SNL when he was fired. There was no reason to fire him.
I mean, I think he pushed the buttons that he knew that if he kept doing this, he was going to get fired. It was all the OJ jokes. But I think he went out on his own terms, and I think that's kind of what made him a legend. You know, the fact that he never had the huge hit sitcom, he didn't become Seinfeld, I think added to his legend. That I think he had an amazing career, and his comedy output is unparalleled. That he'll never be forgotten.